Is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. War. Bitcoin at 30K. Should it be at 30K? Is it going to 50K? Chainlink. Is it the most loved and the most hated cryptocurrency anyone has ever seen? The answer to that is yes. We will go into it. World War III. What does it look like? And groupthink on World War III, oil, bonds, Bitcoin, and Chainlink. In other words, is everyone out there thinking the same thing? Or is it better to read the charts and think about things? I'll give you an example. Do you think the Federal Reserve is going to let the U.S. bond market collapse in the middle of a war situation? Like maybe the Fed wouldn't care if long-term rates went massively higher in a normal situation, but are we going to sit around and watch a financial meltdown and the Fed's going to do nothing? We better start thinking about this, because I'm going to tell you what, one of the reasons why Bitcoin is much higher is because they're sensing a peak in aggressiveness by the Fed. There's a hint. We'll look at the bond charts and the Bitcoin charts coming up. Now, the question I do have is, what happens if all the groupthink in the world is wrong? So these streams, they have to have kind of a shelf life, right? So scenario one is that Bitcoin just goes to 50K. Like, it's Satoshi's vision. Bitcoin goes to 50K. But I don't know that you need to watch a 1-hour TV show to know that, because everybody's talking about that. I want to talk about what everyone's not talking about, which is the stock market, economic growth, okay? And what happens if this geopolitical situation goes to the next level? Here's a hint. It's not a movie, it's oil. The fate of the world and crypto depends on oil. You're going to want to see the charts, because if you miss them, you're going to be blind all week long. And I don't want that. I want you to make money. I want you to be a fulfilled crypto person and a happy human being, as happy as you can. Okay, let's welcome who's here on the stream. Okay, we have Driftless, Big Rich, Rudy, lighten up those comments. Thank you. Appreciate that. Richard Barry's like, Retch go. If you watch the geopolitical headlines, let's go. Okay. Jasmy. Okay. Don't let me forget. We'll do a ton of live TA, much as we can. Oh my God. JB is up in Southern California. Okay. What's up? TBA. TBA on World War III. They need to get rid of a few billion people. Bullish on Parade. Yo, what's up? TBA wants to know about links. So do I. We'll chart it. Rudy is like, hey, man, we are still close to that Bitcoin halving. Lenny Surf from Sweden. Leroy from Vegas. Francisco, good morning. Bivod, welcome. Has anyone noticed that gas is down 40% from the summer? Yes. I filled up at $2.85 in Texas yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, can I get a truck of this to go in case it goes to $12 a gallon? God, holy cow. Idio Feinberg, oh my God, is here from Israel. Welcome. I hope you're safe. Bullish on Parade. No one is talking about the crazy war lighting up in the Middle East. Yeah, no one's talking about it, which is why we're going to talk about it. Okay. Why? G Money 79. What's up? FD White out of Detroit. Okay. So news and views. Gonna do a little bit of freestyle talking here for a second, because I know there's probably really intense demand to start talking about the geopolitical situation. Okay. Now, so this is the Financial Times, right? And there's a huge amount of media coverage. This is October 23rd. So in case these things have to live forever, which they will on YouTube, what you say now will be important. For this includes everybody. Everybody. Okay. Now, when you fight a war, that's usually against your neighbor, a country, a group. You don't fight a war against a concept. So we coined this phrase in America, the war on terror, or the fight against terrorism. People, there's no country called terrorism. So when people on one side of the fence cross that fence and somehow, despite massive military and intelligence capabilities, get 7 hours to kill people and break things in the most horrible graphic fashion on Twitter, okay, the response is to attack cities containing civilians. So everyone's like, well, that's not fair. That's not the rules of war. That's not this. That's not that. Okay. Well, since there is no such thing as a war on terrorism, there's only a war between groups. You have Group A attacks the civilians from Group B. And then Group B turns around and goes, oh, well, you want to make us afraid? You want to kill us? Well, okay, we're going to go kill you. That's your churches, your synagogues, your whatever. I'm sorry, your churches, your mosques, your hospitals. You terrorize us, we'll terrorize you 10 times as much. There's no war on terrorism. There's a war between Group A and Group B. Now, when you have this type of, I'm going to terrorize you, oh yeah, well, I'm going to turn around and do it to you 10 times worse. Here's something you have to ask yourself. Is this worth creating a massive world war over? Like, for example, Hamas has been a political party that's been elected multiple times in Palestine. And we know that, you know, Israel has not exactly been friendly to the Palestinians. So these guys have been fighting each other since 1948, right? And religious groups have been fighting each other in the Middle East literally for 1,000 years. So are we going to fight a world war over this? Well, if you look at two U.S. aircraft carriers, right, fighting with the Iranians, drone strikes have started on U.S. bases, right? Every country in the whole world is flying jet patrols, okay, along, you know, Middle Eastern Ocean areas. Are we going to fight a world war over this? Okay, now here's my shocking answer. No, we're not. Because this is a local campaign, right? It's awful. It's awful. But it's Group A versus Group B. Seriously, that's what it is. Now, what has it become? It has become an excuse to do what Ray Dalio has talked about, which is everybody wants to fight. Everybody wants to fight. Seriously. I mean, that's it, right? American troops at risk across the Middle East amid rising tensions. You know, we want to fight the Iranians. They want to fight us, right? The Russians, the Chinese. Everybody wants to fight. And this includes people, right? Like there's news about certain social groups, right? Universities seemingly endorsing all this stuff. The thing that people should be talking about is social disorder. Social disorder, right? I mean, yes, you could have a Tom Clancy movie over what's going on in the Middle East. You could. But what's really more likely is that something happens at an oil facility. Now, could this be tanks, planes, something awful? Yes. But what's more likely? That a local conflict turns into a world war? Well, it's happened before. But what's more likely? What's more likely is that something happens with the price of oil because you got too many people who want to fight each other. You got it domestically, right? U.S. Congress can't pass anything. They don't have a Speaker of the House. The government is effectively shut down. So if the real risk in the world is something local, turns into something that impacts oil. Like, look at this headline. Look at this headline. Car owners fall behind on payments at the highest rate on record. Now, there's a couple things from this. First of all, if people can't make their car payments, they're going to have a tough time putting money in Coinbase and buying Bitcoin, even though they may want to. Something to think about. Second of all, what happens to car and credit card payments if oil leaps over 100? Don't go anywhere. We're going to look at the charts. The question isn't, do we have World War III? The question is, what happens if oil goes over 100? People are not asking the right question. Now, I love the crypto rally. You know, I love it, but do we have too much hype? Okay, the SEC is likely to approve the spot Bitcoin ETF. Yes, this is hugely bullish. It is. The SEC has 3 to 14% chance in a Ripple appeal. Okay, Chainlink leads crypto market overnight, soaring 8% in one day. Chainlink is a coupon that you use to buy software. That's what it does, and that's cool. If people are buying a ton of software, then Chainlink goes up. But if Chainlink was something that was heavily shorted, right? Did they just squeeze out all the shorts? Bitcoin skyrockets beyond 30K amid massive short liquidation. So follow the thread. Geopolitical situation. Everyone's talking about the wrong thing. They're talking about it the wrong way. They're talking about terrorists and things like that, and whether you're blowing up hospitals, not the right issue. It's happening. It's unfortunate. Not the right issue. No one's talking about oil. And everybody is celebrating Bitcoin at 30K, but nobody really knows why Bitcoin is at 30K. Now, one reason that I could come up with is that the dollar has to go lower. We'll talk about it. But all we're doing is blowing out shorts. And if you think people were short Bitcoin, the whole world must have been short Chainlink based on the way it's trading. Now, obviously, a Chainlink breakout would be huge, and I'm all about it because I'm a crypto guy. But is Chainlink the right altcoin to lead a rally? The last time I saw people this euphoric about Chainlink was when it was top 5 market cap after the summer, DeFi summer in 2020. Chainlink went from 8 to 20 and then went from 5 to 20 and then turned around and went from 20 back to 8 when it unwound itself. Now, Chainlink did go back up, but you got to be careful of groupthink and euphoria, right? People may be talking about the wrong stuff. The President of the United States asked Congress, which is not available because they don't have a speaker, for $106 billion in aid for 2 countries at war. When you look at stuff like this, read between the headlines, right? We're printing money to fuel the fans of war, right? I mean, does Israel need money from us to level Gaza? I don't think so. I think they're doing all that. I think they're doing that all by their lonesome. Could it be that the President of the United States won't stay the President of the United States unless he can become a wartime president? Do people just want to fight? And why do they want to fight? Is it because it's a war against terrorism, or it's because the deep state needs a war? Speaking of people wanting to fight, look at this domestically. Coca-Cola changes its support for a certain social group after news from Tucker Carlson this weekend. The biggest reason to buy Bitcoin, to me, is that the U.S. is an ungovernable country, which you've heard on all these Twitter spaces and on this market update for a long time. That's the best reason to buy Bitcoin. Now, is that going to propel Bitcoin from 30 to 50K? Well, folks, if it wasn't for the oil risk, heck yes, it would be. But, you know, when you have stuff like this going on, this is a recipe for making people angry. There is no work. The war hits Israel's economy. Again, is anyone asking any questions about what the geopolitical situation is going to do to the common man? Is anyone asking this question? Now, obviously, people in Gaza can't get water. You can't get a job in Israel. None of this is funny. Americans can't make their car payments or their credit card payments, and the deep state just keeps pushing this to be worse. The United States is short petroleum. We don't have anything in our strategic petroleum reserve. What I'm trying to tell you is I'm giving you a counter to groupthink, so that when you read the news, you read it from a different lens. Consumer sentiment turns negative in Canada. Singapore's core inflation cools. Gen Z could pay a very steep price for buy now, pay later. Another massive source of defaults. By the way, speaking of Gen Z, do you realize what happens in the United States if they try to do a peacetime draft of Gen Z? Like, my daughter's in Gen Z. She's in medical school. Okay. So I've had a lot of interactions with Gen Z. I've worked with Gen Z. They're not the kind of people to buy into whatever the deep state is selling. Honestly. Like, I mean, unless we have like a direct attack on the United States, like 9/11 or worse, I don't know that they're going to buy, you know, some sort of conflagration in a small part of the Middle East leads them to want to abandon their jobs, get drafted, get yelled at by a drill sergeant, and then get killed. So again, the social disorder aspect. Now that's going to hurt the dollar and help Bitcoin. Question is that totally priced in? And if you're not long, when should you get long? This is a big question, right? So we're having kind of a debate crypto question everything, trust nothing intro to the market update. All right. Because I want you to think differently. Okay. I want you to think differently. Now, again, more media euphoria. Solana rallies 25% in 1 week despite FTX sale fears. Okay. Now, me, co-host Toby, we've pretty much loved Solana all year. So everyone hated it at 9, and, you know, everyone is buying it on the eve of some sort of big problem. Let's think before we act. Let me ask you a question about crypto. If you made a bunch of money in Chainlink, Solana, and Bitcoin, if you took most of this money, I did a tweet on this, Wendy O suggested a partial profit-taking scenario. Holding crypto, yes. Holding crypto, okay. You want to hodl some of this stuff, that's fine. But if you have tactical trading profits, is it smart to take them? Is it a trick or treat like the stream, like the thumbnail? I say take some of the money. Take the Chainlink money. Take the Solana money. Leave, I don't know, most of the Bitcoin. But if you see Bitcoin approaching 32K and you see massive euphoria, you best be careful of that. Seriously. Like the gradual bullishness, okay, that's good. But if you start seeing euphoria, you best think about it. You best think about it. I'm going to show you the charts that give you the positive and the negative case, but basically I'm giving you my opinion. With what's going on in speculative assets, if you have a 20% decline in stocks, which again, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse is in 5 days. Okay, you got money in trades, that money's yours. Use it to make your car payment. Okay, let's welcome here. That was a very editorialized take on the news. If you like it, let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you're on the stream, welcome. Please hit the like button. Okay, Routine Cheese noting that the small alts have not followed. Oh, by the way, ETH has not followed. Not sure how you can have a massive breakout in crypto without things like ETH and Cardano, but that's just me. Okay. Crypto Clan is here, right? Wrong again. What's up? TBA. Okay. Let's see. Francisco. Sydney Oss. Welcome. Welcome. Wrong again says all wars are basically a scam. Livid is here, right? Daniel J, welcome. All right, 100 comments. Way to go, people. Way to go. Okay, now let's get in PowerPoint. Let's get to some really important charts. I probably said this like every week in a row for the last 5 weeks, but I don't know. It's hard to remember a more important PowerPoint deck than what we're looking at right now. Okay, so good news, bad news. The good news is on the daily chart of oil, there are DeMark topping signals. There's a 13 and a 9 top. If you're new, okay, a 13 and a 9 top should create some sort of downward price action. If it doesn't, you know that there's something wrong. Meaning if a top signal doesn't create a top, then it's going to go up a lot. A lot. So if there's a top in oil, Bitcoin's going to 35K. I mean, seriously, if oil goes down, nothing is going to stop Bitcoin. But if you look at this thing in the bottom right-hand corner, you know, Iranian militias attack bases in Syria housing U.S. personnel. People, the thing about the Middle East, and this is funny, not funny, is that the Middle East is decentralized, right? Country A doesn't go to its legislator and declare war on country B. You got all these groups financed with oil money and weapons. They can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why Israel is freaking out so much and being as aggressive as they are. Oh, these groups can do what they want. They don't need blessings from any country to lose their mind and go off. They can do it themselves. They can do it themselves. I mean, yeah, of course. Okay. They can't go completely off the reservation, but they can certainly get to an oil facility. They can. Okay. Right. Bill Noble 6 months ago, buy the dip. Yeah. I wanted to buy the dip 6 months ago. Right. 6 months ago, I was like, buy it at 15K because I was questioning the group think about 10. Now I'm asking you at 32 whether or not it's worth it to continue with the group think. Now, oil, again, weekly chart. Not a lot's happened. Okay. Not a lot's happened. It's like the calm before the storm, but it's still sitting on support. Now, let's talk about bonds. Wow. Are you reading the media about bonds? Oh my God. Mortgage rates to 10%, interest rates to yields not seen since 2007. Oh my God. U.S. government debt credibility at 0. Everyone, China, Saudi Arabia selling. Oh my God. Okay, so all these things are true. The US has no credibility, but we've been talking about US credibility on this show forever. Forever. Now, is that to an extreme? In other words, here's a scenario, right? Stocks have to reprice themselves for materially lower economic growth and $100 oil, whether it happens or not. Stocks have got to get real about that risk. They just have to. And portfolio managers aren't going to hedge with options. They're going to sell. So if you have a problem with stocks, I have two questions. One, what happens with Bitcoin? Like, can stocks go down 20%? I have the chart. Can stocks go down 20% and crypto hold? Maybe. And can the Federal Reserve afford to let the U.S. Treasury market completely collapse? The answer is no. They will come in and print or do yield curve control or something to try and stop the bond market from going down. You know that saying, don't fight the Fed? So let's take a look at the 5-year futures chart. So the 5-year government bond is, you know, it's an important government bond because it can be tied to what the Fed does or doesn't do. Okay. Now there's a 13 bottom on the monthly chart. So October is a monthly 13 bottom. 104 is support. It was support back in 2006 and it was a launch point in 2001. What happens if the Federal Reserve comes in and says, you know what, we're going to print to save our bond market? Now, of course, this is why Bitcoin is higher and it's why the dollar should be lower. It's not lower yet, but it may be. Also, you have to consider what happens if everybody suddenly says, do I want to be in a stock market that's crashing, or do I want to park my money in a government bond, even if the government is a bunch of idiots? You have corporate bonds. I don't have the chart, but there are corporate bonds and junk bonds that have to be refinanced, right? They have to borrow more money in the corporate and junk bond market. How's that going to go? Are corporate bankruptcies next? This is Dalio's big bet, by the way. The big bet was probably against treasuries and against corporations potentially going bankrupt. I don't know about you folks, but that sounds like a recipe to park myself in a government bond because they have taxing power. By the way, if you're a billionaire, you better get out of the country because they're coming for everything you have. You can have emergency tax hikes and emergency spending cuts along with Fed intervention. So could the U.S. bond market collapse? Yes. Yes, it can, right? Can interest rates spiral out of control? Yes. Do you need to watch a 1-hour live stream to know that? No. You need to watch a 1-hour live stream to know that you got a bottom signal in the 5-year. And even in the long bond, which, yes, is a train wreck, as we discussed, you've got support between 106 and 107 from a hidden pivot target. This is ZB, the futures contract. And if you look at the actual interest rates, I've been experimenting with this. You have a very, very nice hidden pivot structure, and you have a new high in yields and a lower high in a momentum indicator. This is a recipe for exactly what happened in 87, which was interest rates went up, long bonds crashed, long-term interest rates went up, and then stock snapped. And then you had like a long-term, or at a minimum, a local low in bonds and a high in yields. Everybody is selling bonds. Everybody should be selling stocks. So everybody in the media is like, oh my God, the bond market. Everybody in the media is like, oh my God, the Bitcoin ETF. I just want to take the other side of everything just for the sake of the stream. This is probably an extreme in bonds because the Fed's coming in. Like if you think Powell is just going to sit and Powell's going to go down in history as the guy who over-tightened and then destroyed the government bond market and sat there and did nothing while the U.S. government credibility vaporized, you're out of your mind. The Bank of Japan has been intervening in their bond market forever. Now, is that going to work forever? No. But is the Fed going to just sit there? No. What the Fed wants is bonds stable and stocks down. Stocks down, because that's the only way to kill inflation. You got to get to the rich people. So again, what happens if stocks go down 25%? The 10-year note has reached 5% and a really nifty hidden pivot target. I got too cute with this last week. I admit it. Hey, you're going to give me a 5% 10-year note or a stock market that's going to go down 20%. Okay, here's S&P. We talked about this on a weekly chart, right? The way this DeMark works sorts itself out. A downtrend is only the beginning, and the candles, the 4 and the 5 candle, where you were supposed to sell if it was a good downtrend, they gave you 2 weeks to sell. As always with stocks, they love to rally it. They love to uptick. They love to blow out the shorts, and now they're just killing it. How does the stock market, even if oil never goes to 100, how does the stock market look at these headlines day after day after day and not price in $100 oil? Like, what's going to happen in the Middle East? Everyone's going to go, Israel's going to go, oh, okay, well, you know what? I think we're done now. We've blown everything up now. We're done. Thanks, guys. You guys can send all the aircraft carriers and the planes. Everybody can go home now. We're okay. We're set. That's going to happen, right? Even if it doesn't happen, it has to be priced in. It has to be. Now, again, the case for Bitcoin. The dollar index cannot stay above 106, right? Here's April of 1989, 2001, and today, okay? Dollar index spent a year or so above 106 and then crashed. This is the case for Bitcoin. Now, with Bitcoin at 32K, you better start seeing the dollar go lower, because if the Fed intervenes in the bond market, the dollar should go lower. This is the bull case for Bitcoin, right? It's the elevator bull case. Dollar lower, Bitcoin up. Okay, Bitcoin is just like, oh, the dollar is done. And I've been saying this all year, the dollar is done. But I'd like to see the price action, like now, particularly if the stock market goes, which it's going to. Right? In other words, I would rather buy Bitcoin with a lower dollar at 40 than I would at 32, because I know the dollar had cracked, right? This is why I'm like, hey, if you got a little tactical trading profits, maybe you take some of those profits. Maybe you wait until after the lunar eclipse. I mean, if Bitcoin's going to 250K, BlackRock thinks it's going to $31 million a coin. You know, can you just wait for the dollar to break before you put the rent money into Bitcoin? Meanwhile, you might have a historic opportunity to like pull some profits out before this gets really stupid. Dollar index at 106, okay? It's not going up because it shouldn't, but it's not going down either. So any day now, the dollar should be massively lower. Now, the good news for people in crypto is if the Fed does have to intervene in the bond market and there is no stock market crash, that's the scenario where Bitcoin goes massively higher. Okay, so stock market down, worried about Bitcoin. No stock market decline, no spike in oil, the Fed saving the government bond market, that is the mega bull case for Bitcoin. VIX, fear in equities. 23.8 is my new target. If VIX goes above 23.8 and stays there, stocks go down 20%. Okay, another good case for Bitcoin, gold. Gold, if it holds above 1921, it's probably going to 2200. This is why, you know, you basically hold your core long in Bitcoin. Okay, October 10th, 13 days ago, Jim Cramer, Bitcoin is about to go down big. I mean, I've left this in the deck because, you know, I mean, it's like, I don't want to be this guy, but I don't want to do groupthink either. MicroStrategy, now, possibly the most important chart in Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is the Bitcoin ETF, and it's not going anywhere. You got this huge breakout in Bitcoin, but you don't have a huge breakout in MicroStrategy. Now, I guess maybe they think the Bitcoin ETF is coming, so that'll reduce demand for MicroStrategy. Seems to make sense. But I personally think with this chart formation, this should be a lot higher. I mean, you're going to sell your MicroStrategy to buy a Bitcoin ETF, spot ETF that doesn't exist yet? This should be higher. Now, if MicroStrategy goes over 400, forget it. Bitcoin's gone. Nothing will stop it. But I don't understand why MicroStrategy is not higher. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin dominance. So the good news is Bitcoin dominance could go to 54. We talked about this. This is why, you got Bitcoin, you just stay with Bitcoin. You can take your tactical trading profits, but Bitcoin could go up with alts following the stock market lower. I've said this. It could happen. An altcoin rally led by Chainlink. You want to see an altcoin rally led by ETH and other coins, I think. Now, if ETH starts taking off, great. But how is Bitcoin dominance going to go up another 2.5 points? That's got to be like Bitcoin up to stable with alts down. Okay, let's talk about the Bitcoin chart itself. Okay, pancakes and peanut butter, welcome. So Bitcoin took out the top of the range, impressive. But there's a 13 top, there's a 9 top, and there's resistance at 31.8. Like here's Jim Cramer. Like this is October. Where is this? No. This is October 10th. Like here's Jim Cramer saying Bitcoin's going to 0. Boom. Okay, here's everybody at 25K thinking it's going to wherever. Boom. Like, do you want to get trapped up here if something happens to oil? Like this is nice money in Bitcoin. Like from a trading point of view, this is nice money. Now, just as a point of information, if Bitcoin comes back to 29 and holds like it is trying to do here, it can go much higher. That's great. You want to see the 13 and 9 top fail in oil, and you want to see the 13 and 9 top fail in Bitcoin. Like if Bitcoin is still here when we do this stream next week, oh, that's great. Chainlink. No one wanted it at 5 with a 13 bottom in September, and everyone loves it at 10 with a 13 top at resistance. Like this line is automatically drawn. I mean, this looks like just a brutal short squeeze to me. I mean, why are you buying something and not taking profits when you double your money on the verge of some kind of gigantic event surrounding a lunar eclipse in 5 days? Not to mention the fact that is an altcoin rally led by Chainlink a good altcoin rally? I got to leave this one up to you. Now, the good news is ETH is trying to break out. There's going to be a 9 top tomorrow, but ETH's not really backing off. So ETH actually looks okay, but ETH's still in its range. It's still in the range. Oh, ETH breaks out, forget about it. It's going higher. But why is all this groupthink about crypto? Oh my God, it's amazing. Oh my God, we got to pay 32K. It's going to 50. Solana and Chainlink are going to 500. Dude, ETH is still in the range. Come on. Give me an ETH. When have you had alt season or a massive crypto rally with ETH doing nothing? Right? Silver is still in its range and hasn't gone up yet. Now, here's stocks, and then we'll go to some of the altcoins I've seen. Okay. This is the 2022 drop. This is the 2023 rally. If you're below 43.10 in S&P, the downside target is 22% lower at 33.10. And since we're living in the shadow of the ghost of 87 and 29 from a Gann and seasonal point of view, oh, they could do this all in 3 days. Because crude oil, if crude oil gets above 88.7, so I'm giving you the mother of all technical levels to end the TA. Crude oil is above 88.7. The upside target is 160. If crude oil is below 88.7, you can carry on and party on in Bitcoin, Chainlink, and everything else. All you need is one big day up or one big week up in oil to start major problems. Major. And no one is talking about this. Again, I filled up yesterday at 285. No one's talking about this. I went to the pump. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to jack it up $1. Nothing. Crickets. Scary. Okay. So let's end the TA with this. What happens if you wake up one day and oil is $10 higher? Okay. Now, the dollar's eventually going lower. That's good for Bitcoin. But you got to ask yourself about oil and the stock market. And you got to ask yourself about groupthink. So long term, dollar lower, Bitcoin up. The short term, how do you trade the lunar eclipse at the end of the month? Easy. Easy. You rely on your own judgment. You look at your P&L and you go, wow, is that a lot of money? Did I just make a ton of money in an end of the world environment? You know who knows what to do with your P&L and your position, and you know who knows what's going to happen to Bitcoin over the next 5 days? Not me, you do. If you look at your P&L, you go, wow, I made a lot of money. Or you go, wow, I can stick with this. I got a lot of room. I'm playing with their money. You'll decide. Oil and stocks, risk. Dollar lower, Fed printing to save the bond market, great for Bitcoin. We'll see who wins. Okay, Rudy's going to explode if I don't do something about Jasmy. So let's get that done right now. Okay, so Jasmy on a daily chart, again, following Chainlink, looks fine. Okay, now, again, all these altcoins, they're at the high end of the range. It's holding. Oops, share screen. Okay, so let's go back and do Jasmy again. So here's the daily chart. Basically, this is fine, right? It's like starting a move. So this would basically indicate that, the small coins could follow the big coins. Now, Jasmy's at the top of the range. It's sitting on the top of the range. It hasn't come back down yet. That's good. That's good. In other words, one thing I have not talked about is the idea of crypto basically catching up, all the small cryptos catching up to the big cryptos, because you're just going to have a good old-fashioned big crypto rally. I'm down with that. That would be good for Rudy. Okay. Now if you look at a weekly chart, just FYI, so here's Jasmy weekly, right? Remember how I told you when a trend starts? So you have 1, 2, 3, and if it's going to go down here to a 9, you're going to have 5 down weeks. The time to sell is on the 4, right? Now, S&P held up here. S&P tortured everybody. All I'm saying is it looks okay right now, but you got to start asking yourselves, where are we going to be in a week? You don't have to get out right now. It looks okay, but, there is a case here for stuff to not do well. And you need to take that case seriously. You don't have to freak out right this second. Okay, so if we look at the daily chart of Coti, right? What did I do here? Okay. So you have altcoins. Okay. Basically, what's happening in altcoins is they're upticking, and it seems like, this was kind of home, like 4 cents. So, it goes up to 4.5 cents. It comes back down to 4 cents. Goes to 3.6 cents, comes back. Right? This is a case study in doing nothing. It's like ETH. It's like ETH. Okay. Okay. Rudy did a super chat. I appreciate that. Okay. Definitely want to make sure I went through all of what you wanted. Just, okay. Hathor. Let me see if I can get that. Okay. Okay. Let's do some what coins. Let's do it. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. Is Chainlink saving your altcoin? Maybe that's what I should have called the show. Is Chainlink saving your altcoin? Not here. Okay. Now, if it breaks out, awesome. Great. Okay. Let's take a look at Render, because I know we got somebody on the show. I'm really curious to see what's going on here. this would not be a good time for my DeMark system to crash. Okay. Okay, here's render. Okay, so this is a daily chart. All right. So render is above resistance. That's good. Okay. There's going to be a 9 top and there's going to be a 13 top in 3 days. Do you have to worry about that right now? No, probably not. Okay. You have a 13 top in render on the 4-hour chart and it's not having much of an impact. So this is okay. I mean, you know, with stuff that's an object in motion like Bitcoin, if you want to hold it, hold it. But okay, again, you have to ask yourself, right? You have to ask yourself, like, has it paid to buy render above $2 this year? No, it hasn't. So I'm just saying, I mean, like, you know, if you have been long this, you obviously are not touching it. You're just leaving it because this could be a giant cup and handle. This could be the bigger the base, the higher in the space. So could Chainlink, right? I mean, look at this. This is Chainlink. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the counter argument, like if you're long Render, Jasmy, and all these other coins, is that, you know, sometimes big rallies start with stuff that's not that great, like low quality stuff rallies first. Like Link might be an example of that. You know what I mean? So there's a positive case. So I mean, again, looking at altcoins, hopefully I'm giving you information. I'm not confusing you. Dollar lower, right? Bitcoin up, alts follow. That seems to make sense, right? Complete loss of US credibility is buy Bitcoin. Some alts start following slowly. Now, the counter argument, tech stocks need to go down. Altcoins are the future of tech. Tech stocks are the past of tech or overvalued because of AI, any way you want to do it. Don't you buy altcoins after tech gets destroyed in the equity market? I saw DJED. I don't have that symbol. I don't have that symbol. Okay, I saw Render, Routine looking at ENJ. Really appreciate you guys lighting up the comments, even though I did see some hate on me in there. That's okay. Okay, you know, again, daily charts, these look fine. There's a 5-wave bottom, right? And then you start counting the other way. There's nothing wrong with any of these altcoins. You know, they broken above, you know, ENJ is broken above resistance. It's fine, right? The question is, like I said, has it paid to buy strength in altcoins this year? A 90-minute chart, which won't be as relevant, you know, later in the week, but you can ask yourself, there was a 13 top and a 9 top on a 90-minute chart of Enjin on October 23rd. Did that 13 and 9 top have an impact? Did the 13 and 9 top have an impact in oil and Bitcoin? Now, if you traded this and you made money, good. Okay. If you take the DeMark work out of here on the 90-minute chart, you have a 5-wave up and a 0, which means this is a top tactically. So yes, you can hold on to this stuff because on a daily basis, it's fine. But you got a lunar eclipse in 5 days. Okay. IMX. Okay. So again, you know, straight up for 3 days, right into resistance. With a big fat 13 top on the 4-hour chart. So again, right? Stuff rallying to the top end of its range. Do you want to buy resistance in the middle of this geopolitical situation? I don't know. Or should you take your money? As I look at these altcoins, at least tactically, it's like, yeah, maybe we could take a little money. Or maybe we could buy a dip. I mean, this thing has gone straight up. And if you're wrong, like honestly, if I'm wrong, World War III is canceled and oil goes down, you're going to have a Bitcoin rally that's so epic, you're going to have time to get back in. You can keep the Bitcoin. You can keep part of this position because if it doesn't go lower, it's fine. But you got to start asking yourself, you got to start looking at the right things. Got to start looking at the right thing. Gala. Okay, same story. Straight up. Okay, again, above resistance. So they're buying the dip in some of the worst stuff. Like, this doesn't look terrible. It doesn't. It doesn't look great, but like there's no sign of like, oh my God, like you had a 13 top here, right? You have a 13 and a 9 top on a 90-minute chart, but it's not really giving you a big down trade. If this whole World War thing turns out to be a joke, there's upside. I mean, people who have been hodling can continue to hodl. You just have to understand that if you wake up one day and oil is at 90 or 100, that, you know, you're going to lose money. Okay, so Loom is below support. Holy cow, what happened to my charts? Okay, so Loom is below support, if I've got the right chart here. And I think this looks like people are giving up. This looks like people are giving up. Now, normally give up trades have like one final thrust before it's done. Okay, so 4-hour chart of Doge. I'm wondering if Cybertruck fears or, you know, Elon crying on the earnings call leads him to turn to crypto even faster. I'm also wondering whether or not like every single short in this range has been stopped out. Like they got almost everybody going back to September. They got every single short in that range. Now, the good news is you want to buy on a 4. That's what I always say about DeMark. So, hey, remember this saying? It's a bull market if you can buy a dip and make money. All these altcoins, Chainlink, whatever. Can you buy a dip and make money? There's been no dip in Bitcoin. If stocks go down 10%, Bitcoin goes to 29K and holds, oh my God, it's going massively higher. This stream is about how to read the news and how to read the charts. It's like active education. Okay, Routine says DXY is dropping. Okay, so let's just check where the market is. So DXY is coming off. Bitcoin, 30,600, strong like bull. Okay, Rudy says failed rally incoming. That's another thing I wanted to tell you too. Beware of the failed rally. I'm telling you right now, you do not want to see a failed rally. Now, very interesting. I don't know who brought this up. I may have missed it, but ETH versus Bitcoin. So you can't really see it, but the Williams oscillator is at 0. It's right here, right? And when the Williams oscillator gets to 0, you get a huge move. So you're going to have a huge move in ETH versus Bitcoin. What a way to end the stream. That means Bitcoin is going to do massively better than ETH. So that's either a huge Bitcoin rally that leaves the entire altcoin universe in the dust, which I have talked about. You need to be careful. Like Bitcoin can become a monster. I have discussed this. Okay. Stay away from group think. So let me give you my takeaways. I don't think if ETH and Cardano don't go with it, I'm not sure you got an altcoin rally. And I think that includes XRP, right? The big altcoins need to start following Chainlink right now. If the dollar goes lower, Bitcoin's going to go to 50K. The Fed is going to have to save the government bond market. That is probably Bitcoin bullish. Higher oil and lower stocks is not bullish. Matter of fact, the risk of massively lower equities and much higher oil is an under-discussed topic. And there's a lunar eclipse on October 28th. So, trick or treat? Well, I gave you the information. Not investment advice. I think tactical profits you put in your candy bag and you see what happens. If there's a bull market, we'll get on the air and we'll get you back in. Okay. Stay with crypto, believe in crypto, hold your Bitcoin, but don't get wasted because you wake up one day and you just sat in front of your screen and did nothing and oil went up $10. That's the market update for today. We will see you soon.